Okay, with that, let's go back to the virtual town hall meeting and discuss important issues like spending and debt. And one thing I wanted to touch on that one of our previous callers touched on is this sequester, these automatic across-the-board cuts. Let me give you my general approach and general attitude about the sequester. I think we clearly can deal with the level of cuts involved in this sequester. Overall, the cuts, the so-called across-the-board cuts involved in this sequester is only 2.4% of the entire budget. And when you look at actual impact this year, it's actually half of that. It's actually 1.2%, about $43 billion. Now, every family in Louisiana has to deal with cuts to their budget that are far more serious than that on a regular basis, particularly in tough times like we are. Every Louisiana small business figures out how to cut their business budgets by far more than that. So overall, we can absolutely deal with this level of cuts, and we need to if we're going to even begin to get a hold of our spending and debt situation. Now, I do think the across-the-board nature of these cuts aren't the best way to do it, and I do think these cuts are weighted too much toward the military. Defense is 18% of the budget, but it's getting 50% of these cuts. So I do think we should address that in meaningful ways, and I hope we will through this continuing resolution, which we're going to pass in the near future. If we do that right, we will give departments more flexibility. If we do it right, we will lessen defense cuts and allow that to be borne by other areas of the budget, because 18% of the budget shouldn't receive 50% of the cuts. But particularly if we create that flexibility, we can absolutely deal with this level of cuts. If you're on the computer now, you're looking at a graph, and what this graph illustrates is federal spending adjusted for inflation from 1940 until the present day. First of all, as you can see, federal spending has gone through the roof. It's skyrocketed. The other thing you can see is that federal spending in the last 4 years under President Obama has leaped up. It has dramatically increased under President Obama. And the final thing you see is a tiny, tiny red line at the top of the overall 2012 spending line, and that is the sequester cut. And as you can see, if you're looking at the computer at this graphic, that sequester cut is trivial, 2.4% compared to overall federal spending. And that's after that federal spending has grown by leaps and bounds, particularly in the last 4 years, but also long term from 1940 until now. So I think, a picture says 1,000 words, and I think that chart does that and really summarizes the sequester in a very meaningful way.